Now to talk about solutions is Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, one of the first women to fly helicopter combat missions during the Iraq War, who later became the first senator to give birth while in office. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Same to you.
You have 2 young daughters.
I do.
Over the last 3 decades, the cost of childcare has risen 220%. It's such a staggering number, it's actually hard to comprehend. The pandemic made problems in the childcare system worse, particularly for women of color. Mm-hmm. What are the solutions?
Well, there's a solution, a proposal from the Biden administration that I support that is childcare for working families. It would cap the cost of childcare at $10 per day. It would essentially be a way to provide childcare, to subsidize childcare for working families all across this country. Families spend as much as a quarter to half of their income on childcare, and there's no way for working families to survive under those burdens.
Anything bipartisan? Because you can't do anything without Republican buy-in.
We keep trying. I don't know why my Republican colleagues, won't support working families and making sure that we have childcare in this country.
Let's just take a step back and talk about how we got here. I mentioned that staggering figure, 220%. That was the increase of the cost of childcare. You've studied this issue. You're working on legislative fixes. Why is that the case?
Well, there's a whole number of things, of reasons, not the least of which there is a workforce shortage. Mm-hmm. You're competing for fewer and fewer slots for childcare. We need to expand the availability of childcare. We need to expand the workforce. This is where immigration reform would be helpful to bring in more workers who can be trained up and to provide childcare. There's a number of forces at issue, and frankly, in other countries, they have found that it is important enough an issue for there to be subsidies to support childcare for working families, and we're just one that doesn't do it.
As I mentioned, you were the first senator in history to give birth while in office. You had to get the rules changed on the Senate floor in order to bring your infant onto the Senate floor. Talk about that.
As soon as I got pregnant, I knew there was going to be an issue because when I was in the House, we were able to bring children onto the floor up to the age of 12. Actually, it was Speaker Pelosi, when she was Speaker the first time, who changed the rules for that. But in the Senate, there are all sorts of rules. It's very tradition-bound, and they have brought dogs onto the floor of the Senate, but they have never brought children. And so I had to enlist Amy Klobuchar to help me in that fight. Mm-hmm. And it took the entire 9 months of my pregnancy. And the rules finally changed when Roy Blunt of Missouri stepped up. And so here's a bipartisan solution. And as soon as he became chairman of the Rules Committee, 3 days later, he changed the rules. But it took 9 months of arguing. And there were questions like, what's the dress code for the baby going to be? So I put a blazer on her when I did put her on the floor. Little baby blazer.
Oh my goodness. I mean, but if you think about, if you have that kind of struggle as a United States senator who has a lot of power, what does it say about everyday Americans, your constituents?
It says that they are struggling and they're barely hanging on, and many of them are falling behind, which is why I've made so many family issues a part of my work that I do, whether it's mandating that all airports have lactation stations. That happened after I was traveling and trying to express breast milk for my babies, and I was told, oh, just go plug your breast pump in next to where those guys are charging their cell phones, or you can do it in the toilet. It's like, that's disgusting. Mm-hmm. So we changed that law, and that was bipartisan. It took 5 years, but it's done. And so there are a lot of these things that still need to be done, and I'm working hard on them every day.
Before we go, what is your message as a mom, as a working mom, as a badass mom, to other moms out there on this Mother's Day?
Hang in there, sister. We're in this together, and nobody has perfect work-life balance. Everybody struggles, and so do the best that you can, and you're what keeps this country strong. You're growing the next generation for our nation.
Senator Duckworth, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you, too.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.